Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Debbie Ortega. I'm the Events and Programs Manager for the Latin Chamber. And I just wanted to say welcome to our June Café Pastel. It will be a little bit different than what you're used to, but we are so excited to be working with Bank of America and Cornell University today to bring you this program. It is a panel about these wonderful women that have gone through the Bank of America Institute for Women's Entrepreneurship at Cornell University. We're excited to learn from them, to hear their experience and their journey through this program, and hopefully get some of you interested in knowing how you can participate in the next cohort. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and pass it over to Grace. She is our LACC chair, and she's going to talk to you more about this program as well as moderate our panel for today. So thank you, Grace, for being here with us.
Thank you, Debbie. Good morning, everyone. So good to see so many familiar faces and appreciate everyone taking the time to join the Latin American Chamber of Commerce Café y Pastel. We do this once a month and we usually start very early. So again, it's so good to see a lot of new faces. I'm Grace Nystrom. I'm with Bank of America and I'm part of the local market organization. And I see some of my peers, including my boss who's with us today. And really our objective in terms of the local market team is to deliver for our clients, employees, and for the community. And as many of y'all know, one of my main focus areas is to drive the local and some enterprise-wide initiatives specific to the Hispanic Latino segment. And I am, of course, honored to serve as the board chair of the Latin American Chamber of Commerce. This is my second year, so I will be rolling off in 2022. But of course, a privilege for me to serve in this role for the last couple of years. And if you're wondering where Grace Bailey is our president and CEO. Grace is on a well-deserved vacation. I believe she's at Disney World with her family. So, we gave her the day with a week off, so and asked her not to worry about calling in, but y'all will continue to hear from Grace at future Café Pastels, as well as some of the other programs. Welcome to all of our chamber members and to all of our guests who are with us for the first time. We do have a great program lined up, as Debbie mentioned, but before we transition to the program, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, if I didn't share this with everyone, especially for our chamber members and for business owners. The chamber is listening to you, listening to your needs, and based on what you've shared with us over the last 6 months since Grace has been enrolled, we have shifted our strategic focus. So appreciate the leadership of Grace and of course our board of directors. We have heard you. We know you need access to education. We know you need access to training and mentorship. The chamber is positioned to help, and we'll do this in partnership with companies such as Bank of America and Wells Fargo, as well as others. So you can look forward to hearing more about those programs. Of course, we're still going to be in this virtual posture, and hopefully in 2022, we can all come together so that y'all can take advantage of these programs. And at Bank of America, we believe we have a role to play in helping move our communities forward. Recently, the bank announced a $1.25 billion 5-year commitment to advance racial equality and economic opportunity with a primary focus area, with primary focus areas of health, jobs, workforce development, housing, and small business. So there's a lot that we're doing locally here in the Charlotte market to bring about change. But today we're going to be highlighting one of the primary focus areas of our commitment, which is small business. And I'm so glad to see Les Lambert, who is the business banking marketing exec, Erica Duncan, Alvaro Ofelia. These are all leaders within our company who are heavily focused in serving the business community here in the Charlotte market. Late last year, we introduced the Bank of America Institute for Women's Entrepreneurship at Cornell University to the Latin Chamber of Commerce and to Prospera. We created a cohort of 25 Hispanic Latina business leaders to participate in the program. Today, you're going to have the ability to hear from them directly, and they'll share their experience with regards to having gone through the program at the beginning of the year. So I'm excited about that. And again, you're going to be quite impressed and inspired by these women. This was a 12-week program, and I'm not going to steal Pam, or Kirsten's thunder, but I will have them kind of introduce kind of the program in more detail. So at this time, what I'd like to do is I'm going to go ahead and introduce Pam Siegel. Pam is on the phone with us, and I do have the privilege of working with Pam. She is part of Bank of America's our environmental, social, and governance group, responsible for managing our global women's programs, including the Bank of America Institute for Women's Entrepreneurship at Cornell University.
Thank you, Grace.
So Pam, I'm going to go ahead and turn to you. Yep, we can hear you. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Pam. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I apologize for being on the phone. Had I been more organized, I would have looked last night and realized it was on Zoom and not WebEx, which I do not have right now. So I apologize to the group. This was not the plan. But as Grace said, I do manage our women's platform here at Bank of America, and it began about 10, 11 years ago that we recognized that women entrepreneurs, women business owners really needed a little extra help sometimes in navigating how to get businesses started, how to get them capitalized. And we developed this platform and started working with nonprofit organizations that had audiences of women entrepreneurs. And these were organizations that you may or may not have heard of: Vital Voices in Washington, D.C., the Sherry Blair Foundation, which is based in the UK, the Tory Burch Foundation, Kiva.org. And all of these organizations either helped provide training, mentorship, or capital to women entrepreneurs. But what we realized was that some of that was being done online. Most of it was being done in person, and it was very difficult to bring scale. The need was so significant for this extra resources for these women entrepreneurs that we started to evaluate opportunities to put the programs online. And we looked at other institutions of higher learning. We looked at nonprofit organizations, and finally decided that Cornell was offering the best opportunity to deliver something that was really high quality through an Ivy League institution and free of charge for women. And that was really important to us, was that this was not something that we wanted anyone to ever have to pay for. It's entirely funded by Bank of America. So it took some time. It took about a year to figure out, what is this going to look like? What is the content going to be? Who's going to manage it? How is it going to work? And so once we got through that, in the fall of 2018, we actually launched what we thought was going to be a small pilot. And I should mention, it was built for 5,000 initially. We thought, we'll send 5,000. And candidly, sometimes that 5,000 kept me up at night. How are we going to get 5,000 women through this program? And Kirsten's probably laughing right now, because we had a pilot for, we thought was going to be 400. And within 24, 48 hours, the link went viral. It blew up. We had a wait list of over 5,000. And we all realized that we probably didn't need those marketing dollars we were going to use to try and advertise this. So over the time, we have since worked with Cornell to increase capacity. So it went from 5,000 to 10,000, went from 10 to 20, and now most recently, last year, we announced going from 20 to 50,000 seats available for women. And yet, we still have a wait list. We wish we had more capacity. And so we continually work with Cornell to understand how we can get more women into this program. And it is global. So while most of the women in it are represented in the United States, and what we will also share is that 86% of the women in the program identify as women of color, we're incredibly proud of what we have been able to deliver and develop with Cornell. So with that, that's kind of the background and how it came to be. I'm going to let Kirsten talk about what it is and how it works. And so my partner, and Grace, I assume I'm just supposed to introduce Kirsten, but Kirsten Barker is my partner at Cornell. She runs the institute for us there, and probably not a day goes by that Kirsten and I do not have to connect on something.
That's great. Thank you, Pam. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Oh, great. Awesome. So first of all, thank you to Pam and many thanks to Bank of America for funding this incredible program. The original goal of the Institute, as Pam had mentioned, was to leverage Cornell's world-class faculty and create a 12-week online certificate program that would provide free access to 6 12-week courses covering basically the basics of running a business. So from customer discovery to legal and funding issues to communication and negotiation. The intention was really to provide the nuts and bolts of what you need to know as an entrepreneur, but then also touch on some key some key issues that women face as they pitch or launch a business. So it's a program in women's entrepreneurship, but really the focus is entrepreneurship with a little bit of a touch on specific gender issues. One of the key differentiators of our program versus other free online courses is that we cap our classes at about 150 to 200 students in each class. So students aren't anonymous. This isn't the wild, wild west of the internet. You're actually accountable in the classroom. And in addition, each class has a human facilitator or kind of a teaching assistant, if you will, who helps guide discussion in the online class forums and then also provides feedback to students in their course project submissions. So there is more of a kind of community that is created within each of these classes. And then back to kind of what Pam had touched on, we built this with the intention of 5,000 students, went viral, became 10,000 students overnight. Now we're bringing 50,000 students through. It's really incredible. We went viral through a lot of social media groups that support minority women entrepreneurs, which kind of accounts for the over 85% women of color who are in our program. But then in addition, the bank had mentioned back in November specific partnerships with organizations like Prospera, like the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the National Urban League, which are continuing to work to kind of focus on women of color and minority groups as we bring them through the program. To date, we've enrolled about 30,000 students, and we could fill the remaining 20,000 of the goal of 50,000 tomorrow if we pulled. So the demand for the program has been absolutely humbling. And an exciting development that I do want to quickly mention is that we have translated the program into Spanish, and we will be launching those courses next month. If you or entrepreneurs that you know are interested in learning more about how to access that new program in Spanish or the program in English after you hear our panelists, Grace will be sharing links and
Kirsten?
information at the conclusion of the session. But we underestimated the power of the connections and the networking that the entrepreneurs honestly hungered for and took away from the program as well. I'm so glad that Grace led this special cohort through the program and that we have panelists here today to share their personal experiences. So with that, I will turn it over to Grace to get the panel rolling.
Great. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, Pam. Really appreciate y'all providing the overview from the bank's perspective and then, of course, from Cornell's perspective with the actual program itself. And then, of course, cannot thank y'all enough for being part of our first Café Pastel. So now let's transition to the panel. So we're fortunate to have, we had 25 women. And when I approached the women to say, okay, I'm just going to ask if everyone can just go on mute. We're getting some background feedback. So when I approached the cohort of 25 women to say who would be interested, every single one of them raised their hand. So unfortunately, we didn't have time for all of them to participate. We will be doing a roundtable with them so that we have the ability to hear from all of the participants. But today we have with us 3 panelists. We have Miriam Espinosa, who is the co-founder of Radal Hospitality. And you may recognize their brands, Latin Sabor Street Grill, LACCC, and Three Amigos Mexican Grill. If you're like me, you probably have been to all of them, or at least to one of them. So then we also have Silgan. Sil is the executive director of Our Bridge for Kids, which is a local nonprofit organization here in our community. And then, of course, we have Banu Valladares. Banu is the executive director at Charlotte Bilingual Preschool. So that is our panel. And what I'm going to do is I would like for us to learn a little bit more about each of our panelists. So I'm going to ask each of them to just take a minute to tell us a little bit more about your business. And Banu, we'll start with you.
Great, thank you. So my name is Manu Valladares. I am the very proud executive director of Charlotte Bilingual Preschool, where we provide solutions really for families by providing Spanish-speaking children, preparing them for success in school and life by providing superior dual language, multicultural preschool education. That preschool education is such a vital component of a child's success in the future. So we prep them and their families to get ready to have careers and bright futures. Thank you.
Thank you, Banu. Miriam?
Hi, good morning. I'm Miriam Espinosa. As Grace mentioned, I am the co-founder for Reda Hospitality. We manage Sabor, Three Amigos, and LACCC. It's a total of 20 restaurants, about 250 employees. And our goal is, besides just the food, is really invite people to get to know our culture, our foods, and, just making an inviting place for everybody to celebrate our cultures. A little bit about me, I'm an immigrant from El Salvador. I grew up in Queens, New York, and I have 2 boys. So nice to meet everybody.
Thank you, Miriam. Sil?
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Silgan, and I am the founder and executive director of Outreach for Kids. Outreach, it's a 501c3 that was created to provide a transitional safe space for refugee and immigrant families that come to live in the United States. We provide after-school programs, summer programs, and we focus on, of course, their education and English acquisition, social emotional well-being, and the cultural appreciation and pride. And yeah, I'm so excited to be here. And about me, I'm from Argentina. I spent almost half of my life in Charlotte, and I have 2 kids.
Thank you, Sil. So again, great panelist of these women who, again, have inspired me. So I'm going to just jump into the panel here, to the discussion. I jotted down a few questions. So here we go. I'm going to take us back to course 1. So I will like to find out, as well as others, is what made you decide to become an entrepreneur and social entrepreneur? And Sil, I'm going to start with you, and if you can talk a little bit about social entrepreneur.
Yes, so I learned the term social entrepreneur later, way after everything started getting rolling. So, starting a 501c3 and not-for-profit is just like starting a business. And something that I finally understood with this amazing course is that even after you get your 501c3 designation, you're still running a business, because you still have to have staff, you still have to have your, audits, and you still have to have your plans. And I mean, it's so much more than just providing services. And I think that, by starting a 501c3, I had no idea what I was getting into. I just identified a need for immigrant and refugee kids who were, newly arrived to the United States, to have a safe place to go after school. And not only to do homework and excel academically, but just to feel safe and to have a space to, cope and kind of, have a space to process everything that was going on around them. As you know, kids come here today, tomorrow they're in school, and in May they're supposed to do EOGs, and we wanted to support them through it. And yeah, it's just starting growing, and we started with 75 kids, and now we're going to go 150 next year, including middle school. And we went from, working with 30 families to 120 families. And that's, 500 people in the community that we're supporting. And I know that the growth that it's coming is going to be supported because of the things that I learned with the classes, which was amazing. I cannot wait to tell you more about it.
Thank you, Sil. Banu, we'll go to you.
Yeah, so I came to the United States to go to college, and I was going to be a computer science major. So my big life goal was to perfect my English, go back and make a killing in business. And something happened as an immigrant in the United States that really transformed me, my understanding of who I was. And I found some solace in literature, changed majors to English literature, have a master's degree in English literature, didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and education became a passion. And that was the route that I think probably leads all of us to successful careers, is understanding that there is something that hits your soul, that it's usually a little bit of a wound that guides you, and then it drives your passion to do really well. So that's how I found myself in the businesses of entrepreneurship and working in a nonprofit with economically marginalized Spanish-speaking children. Some of it is the challenges that families experience finding a way home in the United States, but then the really strong statistics that without a high quality dual preschool education, our children, particularly our Spanish-speaking children, are just not going to graduate high school. And that to me feels like a waste of life. And it's one of the best ways that we can make a huge impact in the future. And again, I think that one of my advices to all of you is to find your passion, find that thing that maybe felt like a little wound for you that now drives you. And that's going to be the thing that makes your business successful. That was also a lesson from Cornell.
Thank you, Banu. And Miriam, we'll go to you. What made you decide to become an entrepreneur along with your husband?
Well, for us, the way it worked is, we had our first child in 2008. And I went back to school in 2010 for my master's in social work. And, my goal was, okay, I'm going to open up my own practice at one point, a center, just something for the community. And, that's when the economy also crashed. And my husband's like, we need to start something else. So we got into the restaurant business. And I actually come from a background of restaurant business owners. My mom still has her shop in Queens, New York. She's had it open for 24 years. And then recently I learned that my grandma, which is my mom's mother, was also the caterer for the village. So I'm third generation restaurant owner. So it's, some things for me, I'm like, you think they happen by chance, but it's probably been groomed in me one way or another. So, and we started it as just a backup plan. And now that's all we're doing. And I've been able to use my social work, what I've learned as a social worker, I'm using it now, to be involved with the community, to just think of different ways to help others leverage power and increase possibilities for social capital and economic mobility.
And Miriam, expand a little bit about that, because you've also shared how you've been helping your own employees based on, just the environment that we're in. Talk a little bit, spend just a couple of seconds speaking to that for everyone's benefit.
So my role, like I said, it has evolved into community engagement. And I didn't realize when I first started doing this work, the needs that were in the community. It really started for me. I just had this moment when, there was the big crisis in the border, and I'm like, how can I help the kids, the family? And, that's when I was like, that's it. I can't be comfortable anymore in my own little space. And I just started getting involved with the community, and I realized, there's a huge need for employment, and we're always needing to employ people. And that's when I started learning about, economic mobility and just the huge needs we have. And as I started working with different agencies, whether it's NC Works or with the Catholic charities that help refugees, just different programs, I realized, people want a job, but a lot of times they have a hard time maintaining their job because they don't have the extra tools, such as housing or childcare, just all this other stuff that gets in the way. And, my role has really involved, I feel like I'm doing a little bit of case management, but, it's a lot of connecting to different resources in the community. And I've noticed that it does help employees keep their job and grow within the company.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I'm going to transition. So as part of the 12-week program, 6 courses, right? We had a course every 2 weeks. What was your overall experience in participating in the program at Cornell? Sil, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, for me, it was Rocio that just shared one morning that we ran into each other in the community and say, hey, there's this awesome program at Cornell with Bank of America that you may be good at. It's about entrepreneurship. And I was like, but I'm working nonprofits. I really don't know if I'm fit. But I am overachieving all the time. I can't help it. So I just said yes and got into it, really not knowing what was it. It just blew my mind. It really blew my mind. I am just so excited and glad that we did it. And it was intense. I won't say that it was easy. It was about 5-7 hours per class or so. And some of them were like really tough to take, not just because the class was difficult, but because of how did I not know that? You know, I mean, I founded Outreach in 2014. Here we are, you know, 7-8 years later. And I'm like, I never thought of copywriting it. And what about a non-compete? So every class just brought a lesson, a huge lesson I could apply right away. And like I said before, I mean, everything that I learned, I just put in a little folder, and I'm going to present at our board meeting next month, because I mean, there are things that we have to check, and these are not just, you know, to make us feel pretty or important. And I mean, these are really important things that could have a consequence if we don't do it. So yeah, I mean, it was an amazing experience. Of course, you know, the tight group of amazing women that I got to meet and that I got to, you know, keep friendships with, like Banu and Miriam. And it was super, it was a very supporting group, and I really enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you. So Miriam, I'll go to you. What was your overall experience?
For me, it was just being able to share experiences with others and learning from, you know, even our own personal growth, because I felt some of the questions or some of the dialogues we did felt very personal, you know, and it made me feel like, okay, now I got to do some reflecting and some, you know, dig in with myself, and, you know, to be honest, so I could maximize my experience, kind of allow myself to be a little bit vulnerable. And I saw that others were doing the same. So I think that was for me, you know, the big part of knowing I wasn't alone, knowing that others go through similar things and we can learn from each other, and that, you know, it's okay if we fail, it's okay if here and there we feel insecure, you know, it's part of the process. So for me, that, you know, that was huge, just being able to talk about that with other people who were pretty much in the same boat as me.
Thank you, Miriam. And Banu, I'm going to go to you next. And you and I spent a lot of time late last year trying to decide, is this the right time? You know, the time commitment, can I do this and still do my day job? So tell us about your overall experience, Banu. And are you glad that you did it?
Oh yeah, number one, yeah, I'm delighted that I did it. We have a really aggressive strategic plan, you know, where we're gonna grow to serve 1,500 children, grow tenfold, right? And I was thinking, I don't know that I have time to do to do this class. I called Kirsten, I called Grace, I called everybody I let, you know. But I think that the one who really helped me make the decision, my oldest sister, who is also super high achieving, and she goes, it is an incredible gift, do it. And I did it, and it was a difficult time because also my dad had just passed away, and we were in the middle of a pandemic, and I was like, oh gosh, can I make it? But it was so, it feels like I've been doing business in the nonprofit work for years, and it feels like all of the little gaps that I had, right? All of the things that I didn't know, you know things, you learn them on the go. This just kind of gelled it all together, put it all together in a nice little package, and filled in the gaps so I could feel the places like, oh, I got this. Oops, didn't know that. Let's go fix that, right? And I could actually immediately implement whatever lesson, you know. So we, for example, there was an unit on, you know, how do you figure out the strengths of your team and how do you put together a strong team? And, you know, we're getting ready to grow. So I needed to know what are the essential positions. And that was in the back of my head. And the class, every class, I learned something that applied to our expansion plan. It was awesome. It was incredibly hard at times because you had to manage your time, right? You have to be doing this after hours. And it helped me feel incredibly competent, confident. I felt like I'm taking a Cornell class. I am awesome. And I am learning the language so I can talk about troughs, and I can talk about pro formas, and I can talk to my people. And I also have strategies for how to talk to people that might have intimidated me in the past, how to find where is that trigger coming from? How do I prep? And anyway, I have a lot of success stories from this, and I am incredibly grateful. If you are sitting on the fence wondering if you want to take this, it is so worth it. Do it.
Thank you, Banu, and thanks. Can you just sense that passion from all of them? So thank you. Okay, so the next question is, can you discuss a challenge that you faced in launching or growing your business, and how did the Cornell program help you overcome those challenges? I think about pro forma, but who wants to, just jump in?
I'll jump in since I was just talking about this, right? One of my challenges sometimes, and I think that this is just understanding what is the family baggage, what are the stories that you carry with you, and for me it was so essential, right? Which is in certain settings I feel less than comfortable, right? And for me to feel comfortable in a room full of experts, we had a really great script on how to do this, right? It's like, ask questions if you're feeling triggered, right? If you're feeling like you don't know all the answers, ask a question, repeat the question, breathe. Those skills were so important for me too, and I have applied them. And I did a big presentation in front of a bunch of powerhouses, which would have left me feeling a little vulnerable. I nailed that thing. I walked in, I was super prepared. They asked me great questions. I had answers to their questions because I knew what my capital was. I was like, before I would have been going, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? And trying to tap dance through it and feel uncomfortable that I didn't know, right? But it was really good. And I have many more stories, but I'll let somebody else share.
Right. Miriam, what about you? I know you can relate to a lot of what Banu's talking about, but
yes, for me, it is, that I think it was the last class that we talked about negotiation and persuading. And I think, that's an area where I still have a lot of opportunity for growth. So one thing I realized after taking the classes, I bring a certain voice into the space even in my own company, because we all have a different role. We all are focused on something different, but everything is important. So a lot of times I backtrack because, they're talking about finances and I'm like, I'm not sure, how to navigate all that. I'm a social worker, but I know that what I'm doing will impact finances. So it's really figuring out how my piece is part of the bigger picture. And also knowing, no, I'm actually the expert in this and it's okay for me to talk now and everybody listen to what I have to say, because, I'm bringing in what I have to say has value that is different, it's not more important than everything else. But sometimes, I've realized that, whether it's because I've learned to be like that or my personality, whatever it is, I backtrack a lot. And this course really helped me to understand, like, no, if I'm in certain spaces, it's for a reason, and I need to speak up when I feel that I'm very competent in certain areas.
Okay, and so what about you? What was the challenge that you faced in launching your organization? And how did the program help you overcome those challenges?
Well, for me, I think that the most important part, founding Outreach, the first 2 or 3 years, were just understanding and knowing and finding out and Googling things a lot and picking up the phone and finding people, experts to answer the questions, and with board members and, just trying to put the pieces of something that really I had no idea how to work. I went into this without knowing what articles of incorporations were. Fast forward to the last 1.5 or 2 years when Outreach really kind of became a sought out voice about refugee and immigrant advocacy and education and inclusion in the community. I realized that we were spending a lot of time and effort fulfilling the need or the gap for awareness. So we were being called from universities and school districts and conferences all over the country to just come and share. And, we have a lot of presentations already done, we have welcoming and including newcomers. We have a Words Matter workshop, advocacy from within, trauma-informed care and after-school programs. And we love doing these things because we know they change the way people see and think about and talk about our families. And we didn't want to stop doing it, but at the same time, they were just becoming so often that it was taken away from our real jobs. In my case, fundraising and finding the way to pay for everything we do. So I realized with this, with the classes, is that I can actually be paid for that. And actually, and we created it's very rudimentary right now. It's in the starting stages, but after a couple of the classes, it kind of dawned on me that it is our time, and it's our job, it is our expertise. And if people want us to offer it, we can be paid, and that could go back to our bridge fundraising strategy. And it just was amazing. The first time that I thought about it and I actually asked, they offered us $600 for a 55-minute presentation. And the pro forma, it was awesome because I went back to it and said, okay, if we do 4 or 5 of this, a quarter, that could take a lot from the money I have to fundraise for unrestricted funding, which for us is gold. And now, Salma is also asking the question. Salma is our family support coordinator. She does amazing work, including families in the family approach, community-centric and all of that. And, people have the money to pay for it. And there's no reason why we're not charging for it. And, this is also going to become, what if we do the Outreach University and make it that like an official, funding source for our organization. And we will be doing both, we will be educating and raising awareness and being compensated for the time that goes back to our work with the families and the kids. So it was just genius. I loved it.
Thank you, Selma. I'm glad you shared that, because I think it was February the 18th when you shared that experience. And we were talking about value and how we need to value ourselves, right? That was part of the curriculum. And what you didn't do is you didn't wait till the end of the program. You just took action immediately. And here for that hour, you had $600. So thank you for sharing that, because I was going to ask you to bring it up, but you brought it up. So thanks for sharing that with everyone. And if we're going to get ready to take questions from our folks that are with us today, so feel free to include it in the chat. And between Debbie and myself, we'll read off some of the questions. But one of the things I'll ask before we take questions is, we created the cohort where really our objective was, right? We wanted to create this sense of community, have a support system, have that accountability. From your own perspective, was that of value to you? And if so, why?
I'll jump in. It was really valuable. I think, at the beginning, because I was so busy, right? Just making time in my calendar to take the classes, evenings and weekends and meeting deadlines. And then the project, it was like, oh, I didn't realize there was a project that took more time, figuring out how to schedule all of that. But really by that second class, the finance one, when we're doing the pro forma, and we're a nonprofit, so the pro forma doesn't quite fit exactly to a nonprofit. And I just went ahead and sent a note to the cohort going like, anybody else feeling the pain here? And I think that was the beginning of understanding. I think everybody struggled with the pro forma some more than others. and there was a sense of like, okay, this is normal. I am okay. Several people offered to help with it. And then I think Sil had said, well, I just kind of didn't even do it this way. I started doing it for this other thing. And so it gave me a new perspective. And what was really interesting is that then you revisit everything at the end, which is lovely. The courses are so incredibly well designed and paced. So at the end, you revisit all of the work that you did. And I was able to go back to my pro forma and actually just breeze through it. It was no longer complicated. I already knew what I was doing. And what is remarkable about that is that we're building a 10-year plan. I need to be able to figure out where the trough is, right? Where my revenues are less than my expenses, and how am I going to cover that? And I would say I am able now to do that and to talk to our finance committee, you know, and not feel like, we can do, I can predict my cash for a year, but I can't really do it long term. And so that it's been a really remarkable experience. And I think that having the women, and then also the women's issues were so important. The layer of being a woman in business, right there, and especially being a Latina in business, it's a whole different place. And to be able to just be very honest with each other and just say, this is my vulnerability, am I okay, you know? And we were all okay, and here are the tools. It was great.
Good, thank you. So what about you? What was your, in terms of from the cohort experience? From your perspective?
Yeah, I think that for me was, you know, I think that's something that Miriam also shared before, just knowing that a lot of the things that happen now and the way I react to things and how I present myself and how I think about things, a lot of that has to do with how I was raised. And I think that's something that the entire group kind of, you know, we became a little bonded. And also the people that, because you have to, you have like chats or blogs that you have to respond to and read, and people read to you. So people that we have never met, they are going through the same thing because of the way Latinas are born, you know, very patriarchal. In my case, I've never met somebody who started anything, you know, it was like, it was not normal that people just started businesses when I grew up. And also, you know, very machista, you know, my brother was the top of the line and I was there to serve him. So, I mean, a lot of that, I mean, I think that we have to go back to therapy and kind of just like putting points in there because it's still affecting me. But it was fascinating really to see that it's not just, it wasn't just me, you know, a lot of us were going through the same thing and being raised in, you know, I mean, Latin America is huge and our cultures from within are also so different, but at the same time, they're sort of alike. Fascinating.
Thank you so for sharing. Miriam, what about you?
Definitely everything that Banu and Sil said, but what I would add also is for me, it was empowering to be, you know, knowing that all these women are in my community and that, you know, and that we are, you know, doing in different spectrums and different spaces, you know, doing great work, leading different things in our community. And now we have access to each other, you know, we have, you know, so even it helps us. You know, now I'm going to meet with Sil. Now I talk with Banu. Now, you know, with other people, and we could do things together and support each other, you know, help, you know, create awareness, you know, for what Sil is doing. And, you know, I can help her in whatever way, or Banu, and this, you know, and I think it just creates that sense of community that us as Latinos, we yearn for that. You know, we want that so bad. And I felt that this program allowed me to meet other women who are in leadership positions. So we're, you know, we can talk about things that we go through that are unique to us. So that was very empowering for me.
Right. And I think, and thank you all for sharing that. And one of the things that I heard recently from, like last week when we met with the cohort, is someone said, if it wasn't for the cohort and it wasn't for the WhatsApp and helping me along the way, I don't know if I would have completed the program, but I felt encouraged and I felt supported. So that was, and someone, you know, who recently completed the program along with all of us, but it's good to hear that you all found value in the cohort. We do have a question here from Francisco. He says, this is Miriam, this is for you. What lesson did you learn after going through the COVID-19 pandemic that brought value to the Cornell program?
I guess, you know, is that it's always good to be learning, always good to learn something new. You know, the pandemic, not, you know, I think a million years, any of us thought we would be living through this. You know, so how do you even prepare for something like that? But when you go through, I had never officially taken a course, you know, that was about entrepreneurship or about business. You know, again, my background is in social work. So that, you know, it was great to be able to learn something new. So, you know, that would be something I would say, you know, if you have the chance to go through this course or anything that will help you learn, it just helped, you know, what do they call it? Occupational blindness? Like when you're just going, you stop seeing, you know, you start repeating the same mistakes because you can't see otherwise. So I think, you know, this course also helped me understand, okay, yeah, we're surviving, we're thriving, but there's so much more we can still do.
Thank you, Miriam. And then there's another question here from Yasmin DeHaven. She says, how many of you are thinking about sharing your experience via social media, blog, etc.? I think some of you are already doing that, but can you all speak to that a little bit? Who wants to speak to that?
I actually had not thought about doing a blog, though that is part of, part of the lessons that we learned was how do we market. And oh my God, that was also, and it's like, there's just so many nuggets in here. It's so good, right? And this idea that you have to interact with your audience, right? You have to know your audience and interact, and this idea of, figuring out which medium is a medium that is best for you. So I love we were thinking about doing a blog, but I hadn't thought about this as content for the blog. So thank you for the great question. This is the beauty of comunidad, right? Multiple perspectives allow us to see what we can't see. So yes to that.
Good. So were you going to make a comment?
I was going to say it's a great idea. I haven't thought of it either. But I see that, Yasmin is also with Bank of America. So if Bank of America wants to create a blog, I'll write it.
Okay, well, I'll make note of that. I know I have a lot of teammates with us here today, so we will take that as something that we can check into. Or Kirsten, I don't know if there's something that exists already, Kirsten, of course, with Cornell, that we could perhaps, leverage. I'm going to ask one more question in terms of what was one of the aha moments for you that made you make a change in your company organization immediately?
Oh, that's easy for me. So very, very, just came to my mind two things. When I saw trademarks and the copyright, that was to me like mind blowing, because I mean, we have a program that we created ourselves, right? So we have our acronym, it's LEARD, it stands for our values of love, education, respect, and diversity. And I'm thinking, we can actually trademark and make it a thing. And then of course, the copyright of our curriculum, which we develop in-house. And it's something that we, after I went through that class, we started like looking into it, because we create our curriculum, but what if we had it copyright it and, ready for, take it with us when we go to another city. So we don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel and trying to find units everywhere. So, I mean, those to me are amazing, and they're already on in the oven. They're working on it.
Okay. And Miriam, I'm going to ask you this question. And this is, I think back to Professor Streeter, right? She taught the course on gender biases. And as a female entrepreneur and social entrepreneurs, have you experienced gender biases, and how did or will the program help you address this issue?
I think for me, what I can relate to the most when it comes to gender biases is when and again, I forget exactly which course, but it was talking about how a woman shows up to a space and how we have to think about our makeup, what we're wearing, our tone of voice, and and it really, made me think like, how do I even perceive other women because of what I've been taught to believe, like if a woman is in leadership and she shows up too strong, the way, people say it, then it's like, we feel like, oh, she's not feminine, or she's whatever, so there's all these ideas that we're taught. So I felt that it helped me question a lot of things, and it helped me think about how am I showing up, and am I, falling into that, oh, my voice has to be quieter, my voice has to be whatever people expect it to be. And so it did help me even for this, I think, Grace, you're the one who said, like, you got to practice, you got to prepare your speeches, and I actually wrote things down, and just being more, knowing that I'm walking in and that what I have to say is important, and that, it's okay, people can perceive me however they're going to perceive me. I can't control that part. I just got to be confident in how I'm showing up and what I have to say.
Right. And that's one thing we heard. That was a theme along the, as we were meeting every 2 weeks with the cohort, is everyone's confidence level, right, was just continuing to increase. I think about Maricela or Marcela, who said, gosh, my confidence level has gone from here to here. Now I feel like I can go out and bid and compete with others in the construction business. But we heard that consistently from so many, Miriam, as you were talking about prepare, practice, I mean, here I am, right, with my notes. And but again, that's just, that's how we can continue to present ourselves and deliver, whatever that may be, that presentation or that pitch. So I know I'm looking at the clock here, and I'm getting reminded that we have just a few minutes. And I want to make sure that because I know we have so many folks who have sent me some private messages. They're interested in learning more about the program and how they can participate. So want to thank, so we're at time, unfortunately. It went by so quickly, and we probably could continue for at least another hour, if not longer. But I want to thank Miriam, Sil, and Banu for joining us today to share your experience with the Women's Entrepreneurship Program. You, of course, as I say this all the time, definitely have been an inspiration to me, and I know to others, and admire your commitment, your dedication to this program, because I know it was intense, but I think we all benefited from it. All of us having gone through it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm excited to announce just a few opportunities. Kirsten alluded to this earlier. There are 3 different ways, and I want to make sure I get this right, but there are 3 different ways that that folks can participate. If you're female, business owner, considering to start a business, the 3 ways that you can participate. 1, we will do a fall cohort that will start, you'd have to register in August. The program will start August the 25th, and you could be part of a cohort very similar to the cohort that Banu, Sil, and Miriam are part of. That would be 1. And if you're interested, you can send Debbie at the Latin American Chamber of Commerce a chat or an email and make that request. What we will do is we will add you to the list. And our goal is to pull everyone together, to speak to the expectations, to make sure that they can commit to it. And we will have that list finalized here probably in the next few weeks. But again, our goal is to have that list completed so that we can share that with Kirsten at Cornell so that we can start the program August the 25th. It is a 12-week program, so it'll run August 25th through probably mid-November. So you'll be done right before Thanksgiving. And our goal is to have the enrollment completed by August the 18th. The second way to participate is for those of you who are interested in the program, but would rather go through the program on your own, as opposed to being part of a cohort, or would rather have different dates, perhaps later, you can feel free to send us an email or a chat, and we will send you the specific link to be able to go through that process. The other way is, Kirsten alluded to this, and if there's anyone who's interested in participating in the Cornell program and you want to participate in the Spanish program, that program is going to be launching here very soon, I believe shortly after July 4th. But we would have to get you registered by June 15th. Again, this is for the in-language program. Again, that just demonstrates the bank's commitment and what we're doing for the community, for the Hispanic, Latinos, small businesses, right? The fastest growing area segment with small business owners. But the bank has invested in partnership with Cornell to have this same curriculum translated to Spanish. So again, if you're interested in participating in the Spanish, please reach out soon. And we have a separate link for that. So just reach out and we will provide you that link as well. So that gives you the 3 options. Again, the cohort, non-cohort, or the Spanish language program. So for any of these programs, please feel free to reach out to Debbie at the Chamber, and we will get you the respectful links so that you can register or get on the list to participate in the cohort. Special thanks to everyone who joined us today. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Kirsten. Thanks to, of course, our distinguished panel. And congratulations again to all of you for completing the program. So proud of you. You make us proud. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and have a great weekend, everyone, and be safe.